Hello, my name is Nigelargriffiths. I work at IBM Power Systems, Advanced Technology Support in Europe. In this video we'll be looking at PowerVC, or Power Systems Virtualization Center. This will become available at the end of 2013. At the time of creating this movie, PowerVC has just been announced and I haven't had any hands-on experience yet. We have a nice new logo for PowerVC, which are 3 operating systems inside a virtualization bubble. It's quite nice, I think. It's going to be available on December the 6th. 2013, and as soon as I get a hands-on copy, I'll be providing some hands-on movies and maybe update this movie if I got any of the facts wrong. But if you continue to watch this video, then you're accepting that these are just my opinions as a state of play so far. These are not IBM official statements, and I may have got some facts wrong. The first thing you need to do is go and find this website on DeveloperWorks for IBM PowerVC. I've made a tiny URL, IBM PowerVC, that points to it, or you can use the full URL if you like typing. This will be where we actually announce things as it actually gets released, new features and more information as it becomes available. This is in the Service Management Connect part of DeveloperWorks. Now if you go over to the Resources tab, there's a little bit more information, and it has down here the media gallery. This is actually a YouTube movie. It's 10 minutes long and very worthwhile having a good look at. I watched it a couple of times. I actually downloaded the full MP4 version of it, which is much higher resolution, which helped me look at what's going on. This is actually from a limited release version that's only available in some parts of the world, and the version that we're releasing in the fourth quarter has a lot more functions, but it gives you a very good idea of what's going on and how easy it's going to be to use it. The movie doesn't have a soundtrack, but it has little pop-up windows that tells you what's going on as it goes through doing various operations on the graphical user interface. I was told that installing PowerVC will take about half an hour or so. I suppose it depends on the amount of processor time and how fast your disks are. As soon as you run that script, then you'll be going to the graphical user interface to do everything else. So there's users and configuration up in here. Next you'd allocate some machines for it to talk to, and you'll give them access to that. Then you've got the storage subsystems. Again, you'll have to give it access to the storage subsystems with usernames and passwords. I did notice that the V7000 is supported, which my ears picked up at that point because that's what I have in my lab, so that's good news. Probably the other store-wise products like the SVC and the XIV will be supported too, as that has the same protocols. It will be supporting NPIV in the first release. Then you're going to have to tell it something about the networks on how it's going to allocate its IP addresses. Then up here we got these images. These are like little photographs up in here. So these are your operating system images. You'll be using under the covers disk cloning technology. So it'll take a copy of a disk, which is a nice setup for whatever the OS is, and then it will remake another copy of that. And when it boots it, it will then actually go through some first boot sort of scripts to actually change the IP address and the host names and those sorts of things. This logo here then is for our virtual servers. It's sort of a slightly see-through server, and then we got a panel in here where we actually can take one of some pre-configurations of various small, medium and large, and we can add our own particular flavor for how much CPU and memory we're going to allocate. Initially, of course, it will always allocate the same amount of disk space as you captured. You can then later add more disks to your virtual machine. It also has features that will allow us to do things like dynamically changing the CPU, memory, etc. This is using the Dynamic LPAR changes that we've had for a long time, and we can do migrations between machines so that we can do live partition mobility from the PowerVC interface. Now what do you need to run PowerVC? Well, it's going to run on Red Hat Enterprise Linux 6.4. That can either be on a Power server or it can be on an x86 server. That's up to you. As I have Power machines in my computer room, I'll be putting it onto a Power server. Although the option of running it on a simple ThinkPad or something is quite nice as well. You are responsible, as far as I can work out at this point, you're responsible for sourcing the copy of Red Hat 6.4, licensing it, and software maintenance. You then just add the PowerVC package on top of that. The virtual machines it will control are Linux on Power, Red Hat and SUSE, AIX 6 and 7, and there's a statement of direction for IBM I. The hardware will support, well, Power 7 or 7 Plus, or the new secret one that we'll get in the future. If you get the standard edition of PowerVC instead of the Express, it also then covers the Power 6 and 6 Plus processors. We can also run this on the regular Power servers or the PureFlex Foundation build-to-order nodes. Those are the ones that won't be controlled by an FSM, and they'll be using IVM or HMC for control. Now, you can't get very far with PowerVC without talking about OpenStack. It's always going to come up. Well, OpenStack, I'm not an expert in this, but I have spent a couple of days having a look at it. Very large open source project, very popular already. A lot of people are using it as their foundation, the guts of some sort of cloud offering. They can then use it to do provisioning of thousands of small virtual machines. I personally hire a couple of tiny micro websites, as I call them. It's running Apache and a PHP and a few other things, and I can then upload my software to run a website. Now, internally, being quite blunt in here, it is highly modular, which is good. Lots of interfaces. That allows a big team to each working on each individual part, but it is complicated. Now, the vast bulk of people, 99.999% of people in the world, do not care. They'll be buying a cloud product from IBM or any of the other big players that are using OpenStack, like Amazon and Google and Rackspace, and there's a whole bunch of others in there. Or they just want a cloud service. They'll just buy it on the internet and get access that way. If you're a programmer, one of those 0.01% of people, a programmer like me, then you can just dive in. You can see the entire thing, and you can spend your lifetime hacking out code to improve this product, which is really good. So IBM, like some of the other vendors producing products based on OpenStack, they're taking the OpenStack software with its complicated internals. They get a bunch of programmers together. They add some additions in here. We're adding connections, the drivers to Power VM, for example, the storage systems that we want, and in particular we're adding quite a lot of stuff at the top here for the console, the graphical user interface you see, and you have IBM logos on that. We then release the PowerVC product, and the vast bulk of all this code is then pushed back into the open source. We can't force open source guys to adopt our software, but if they want to, and they think it's good value-added extra code, then they'll put it into the product. Then later on we're going to come out with a new version of PowerVC. We go off and get the latest copies of OpenStack. Maybe somebody else, or just the IBMers working on OpenStack directly, are improving the OpenStack software, will benefit from all these improvements, and the pieces of what we developed that they decided to adopt. We'll get all of that in the new copy of OpenStack, and we'll add perhaps some new things that we're adding, new disk drives, or perhaps adding more graphical user interfaces to the console. And again, we'll release that as PowerVC, the next release, and we'll open the majority of this software back to the OpenStack. And this is what everybody else is doing, and how we're using OpenStack for benefit of our customers to get their computers easy to operate. I'm sure there's going to be lots of debate about, does PowerVC replace Systems Director? And in my opinion, the answer is no. The problem is they're both systems management tools. You have to open the box and see the actual functions and features to make a comparison. Typically with systems management there's 20 different aspects of that, and Systems Director covers a whole load of those. Particularly things like picking up problems and alerting you, reacting to problems and automatically fixing them, lots of inventory information. We have things like updating the HMC, the firmware of the machine, AIX, Workload Partition Manager, Active Energy Manager. All those sorts of things are part of Systems Director. Now there is one extension called VM Control that is more in a direct competition with PowerVC, and we may see VM Control moving over to use OpenStack like the PowerVC does in the future. Now a few words on pricing. I don't usually cover this, I leave that to my salesperson, but I just wanted to make sure you're aware the prices are really low. For the PowerVC Express Edition, it's $60 per managed core, and this is for small tier machines, so that's the Power 710 to the 750, that are being controlled by IVM. The PowerVC Standard Edition is for machines that are controlled by HMCs. They can be small, medium or large, and then the prices are 80, 120 or 160 per managed core. PowerVC is also going to be included in a number of bundles, so if you buy these bundles in the future, or you already have them and they're under software maintenance, then Smart Cloud Entry, AIX Enterprise Edition, Systems Director VM Control, or Systems Director Standard Edition or Enterprise Edition, then you have access to PowerVC. We're asked to point out these are US prices, list prices on a particular date, and you should ask your local representative for a quote in your currency and your country. So what are some of the key functions we're going to get? Well, it's the life cycle of our virtual machines on their power. We're going to register the resources and some of the configuration information, the HMCs, the actual machines, storage units, VO servers and the like. Because of OpenStack, PowerVC is going to be stateless. Rather than keeping lots of information duplicated, it actually goes and gathers the live information from the HMC or the storage unit, for example. This can make it very nice for PowerVC, because if we had to actually lose the whole thing, all the information is all still out there. If we recreate it, it can regather that information. The only thing I think that's important on the PowerVC machine to actually save is those captured virtual machine OS images. That they are useful, and we may want to make sure that they are backed up in alternative places. It also means we can have more than one PowerVC. They can all cooperate with each other because they're looking at the same data in the actual devices that are holding the resources. Of course, we can deploy those images once we've got them, and it's based on templates, small, medium and large. They're looking at what's currently available. I think for the power machines we'll have small, medium and large, and very large and enormous and absolutely massive LPARs, because we go much larger configurations than typically you get on the x86 platforms. We can start and stop our virtual machines. We can resize. This is our own Dynamic LPAR configuration, which tends to be more powerful than you get on x86. We can add new disks to running virtual machines. We can do migrate, which is our good old live partition mobility. And then we're going to have some more of the console information like monitoring and alerting and things actually on the console. And I hope to show you those in the next movie. Well, that's what we know about PowerVC so far. When I get some hands-on experience, I'll make you a new movie. I do hope I've got my facts right, but forgive me if I've gone and led you astray. I'll certainly correct those facts as soon as I know them.